15 Keys to Becoming a Peaceful and Respected Woman. Carl Jung's Wisdom. Have you ever laid awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering where you went wrong? You've given everything, your time, your energy, your love, and yet somehow you feel empty. Like you're drowning in responsibility but starving for meaning. Here's the truth nobody talks about. We've been taught how to love everyone else, but nobody taught us how to come home to ourselves. For too long, women have been playing roles: the perfect daughter, the devoted partner, the selfless mother, the reliable friend. But in all that performing, something sacred gets lost. The woman who's supposed to be keeping her own fire alive. This isn't another self-help pep talk. This isn't about mantras or bubble baths. This is an invitation, a journey back to the raw, authentic version of yourself. The one who doesn't need permission to exist, doesn't need validation to feel worthy. Drawing from Carl Jung's profound psychology, we're going to walk through 15 doorways, 15 transformative keys to reclaiming your power, your peace, and your dignity. If something in your heart stirs as you watch this, stay. Because this might not just be a video, this might be your journey home. Key 1. Recognize the emptiness. Let's start with something uncomfortable: the void. You know that feeling when you've checked every box? Good partner, great parent, dependable employee, but you still feel like you're sleepwalking through your own life? That's not failure. That's your soul trying to get your attention. We've been conditioned to believe our value comes from how much we give, how much we sacrifice, how little we complain. Society calls it being strong. Jung would call it soul betrayal. Women are praised for being selfless. But here's what they don't tell you. When you give yourself away piece by piece, eventually there's nothing left. That emptiness you feel is not weakness. It's not depression. It's a signal. Your inner self is saying, "Stop. Look at me. Remember me." Carl Jung taught that every human soul yearns for expression. When we silence that yearning for too long, we don't just feel tired, we feel erased. The first step in any real transformation is acknowledging the truth. Something's not right, and it's not your fault. You're not broken. You've just been living someone else's script. This recognition, this honest moment of, "I can't keep doing this," isn't the end. It's the beginning. It's the seed of change breaking through concrete. Key 2. Restore your inner compass. No woman is born with a broken compass. You came into this world knowing exactly what made you happy, what lit you up. But somewhere along the way, we learned to ignore that inner voice. Don't be selfish. Don't be difficult. Don't make waves. So we stopped listening to ourselves and started asking everyone else what we should do, who we should be, what we should want. Your inner compass is still there. It didn't disappear. It just got buried under expectations, guilt, fear, and comparison. That gut feeling when something doesn't sit right, that's your compass. That sudden urge to cry when a song plays, that's your soul knocking. That situation that drains you even though everyone says it's fine, your compass is screaming. Jung believed that intuition is our soul's primary language. Restoring your inner compass doesn't require a spiritual retreat or a therapist's office, though those can help. It starts with one simple practice: checking in with yourself. Before you say yes, pause. Before you explain yourself, pause. Before you dismiss your feelings, pause and ask, what do I actually need right now? At first, you might not know the answer. That's okay. The muscle of self-awareness has to be rebuilt. But the more you practice listening, the clearer that voice becomes. Your inner compass never lies. It just waits patiently for you to trust it again. Key 3. Stop negotiating with yourself. Here's a painful pattern. You feel exhausted, so you tell yourself, just one more day. Your heart says no, but you smile and say yes. Someone crosses a boundary, and you think, maybe I'm overreacting. This is self-betrayal, and it's killing your spirit slowly. Every time you override your true feelings to keep the peace, to avoid conflict, to be seen as nice, you're negotiating away your own well-being. And here's the kicker, nobody asked you to do that. Jung once wrote, "Nothing makes the soul sicker than dishonesty with oneself." Think about it. How many times have you said, "I'm fine," when you weren't? How many times have you convinced yourself you didn't need rest, didn't deserve support, should just be grateful? Stop the bargaining. Your needs aren't negotiable. Your boundaries aren't up for debate. Your exhaustion isn't something to power through just to prove you're strong enough. This doesn't mean becoming rigid or selfish. It means becoming honest. It means when you're tired, you rest. When something hurts, you acknowledge it. When you need space, you take it without a 10-page explanation. The strength you've been searching for? It's in the refusal to abandon yourself, even once, even for someone you love. Key 4. Stop apologizing for existing. How many times a day do you say, "I'm sorry. Sorry to bother you, but sorry I can't make it. Sorry for taking up your time." We've been trained to apologize for having needs, setting boundaries, or simply existing in a way that might inconvenience someone else. You don't owe anyone an apology for being human. Society taught women that being assertive is aggressive, that having boundaries is cold, that saying no requires a dissertation-length justification. So we wrap every no in layers of apologies, hoping we'll still be liked. But here's the truth Jung understood. Integrity begins when you stop seeking approval. A mature woman isn't the one everyone loves. She's the one who stands in her truth, even when it's misunderstood, even when it's unpopular. When you stop over-explaining and stop apologizing for your decisions, something powerful happens. You start operating from clarity instead of fear. Try this. Say no once without explaining. Just no, I can't. Then sit with the discomfort. Watch how the world doesn't end. Watch how most people just accept it and move on. Your no is complete. It doesn't need wrapping paper. When you stop apologizing for existing, your presence becomes the statement. I know my worth and I don't need to prove it. Key 5. Claim your right to choose. One of the clearest signs you've lost your power? The fear of making choices. From childhood, we're taught to ask permission, from parents, teachers, partners, friends. And that habit doesn't disappear in adulthood. It just gets internalized. We wait for someone to tell us it's okay to change careers, to end a relationship, to pursue a dream. Like our lives need approval stamps. But nobody can live your life for you. Nobody feels your pain, your joy, your deepest longings the way you do. Jung said, "Your life is the result of the choices you actually make, not the things you say you'll do." Every choice, even the small ones, is a declaration of your autonomy. When you choose consciously, you're telling the universe, "I'm ready to live authentically." Yes, choosing is scary. It means responsibility. It means sometimes you'll choose wrong. But not choosing is the deepest loss of all. Because every time you wait for permission, you're letting someone else write your story. Start small. Choose what you want for dinner without asking. Choose to take a walk because you feel like it. Choose to say no to plans that drain you. No choice made from your authentic center is wrong, even if others don't understand. That's when you know you're becoming the author of your own life. Key 6. Setting boundaries isn't guilt, it's love. Let's talk about the hardest word in the English language, No. We've been raised to believe that being a good woman means being available, always helping, always accommodating, always putting others first. The women who get praised the most, the ones who sacrifice without complaint. But here's the trap hidden in those compliments. You're only loved when you have no limits. So when you finally start saying no to extra work, to toxic relationships, to demands on your time, guilt floods in. Am I being selfish? Am I letting people down? That guilt isn't proof you're wrong. It's proof you're breaking out of an old cage. Setting boundaries isn't about building walls or becoming cold. It's an act of deep self-respect and love. When you say, "This is enough," you're teaching others and yourself that your energy, your time, your soul are sacred. They can't be consumed without limit. Jung taught that no one can touch your soul without your permission. Boundaries are you choosing which doors stay open and for whom. Here's what changes. A woman with clear boundaries carries a different energy. She doesn't need to shout or prove anything. Her presence alone communicates. This line cannot be crossed. Some people won't like it. They'll say you've changed, that you're being difficult. That's because they were comfortable with the version of you that had no boundaries. Don't let fear of loss make you tear down what you built with blood and tears. Remember, saying no is another way of saying, I respect myself. And when you respect yourself, the world begins to mirror that back to you. Boundaries don't make you lonely. They filter out people who weren't ready to love the real you. Inside those boundaries, you can breathe, rest, and live fully as yourself. No guilt, no fear, just peace and dignity. Key 7. Release perfectionism. Be human, not a symbol. From childhood, most women are rewarded for being flawless. Good grades, good behavior, never disappointing anyone. Those innocent compliments planted a dangerous seed. Perfectionism. We start believing that only when we're spotless, always strong, always composed, always pleasant, are we worthy of love and respect. But in trying to be perfect, we lose the most precious thing, our authentic selves. Perfectionism isn't virtue. It's fear wearing a mask of discipline. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of not being enough. So we push ourselves to exhaustion trying to be the ideal mother, the perfect partner, the employee who never complains. Every time we stumble, instead of self-compassion, we deliver self-criticism. Try harder. Do better. But here's what nobody tells you. No one can maintain perfection and still be alive. Carl Jung wrote, "Wholeness doesn't come from eliminating flaws. It comes from reconciling with them." Letting go of perfectionism is the journey back to being human, messy, limited, sometimes weak. It's not surrender. It's the courage to admit, I don't need to prove my worth through achievement. When you allow yourself to make mistakes, to move slowly, to rest, to be imperfect, something miraculous happens. The constant tension inside begins to soften. You stop living in the exhausting state of, I must do better. Instead, you start listening to yourself with compassion and respect. You learn to celebrate effort, not just outcomes. Releasing perfectionism doesn't mean stopping growth. It means shifting the goal from flawless to real, because authenticity is always more beautiful than perfection. When you dare to show up with your cracks, your fears, your mistakes, you become more human and therefore more free. Remember, wholeness isn't about doing everything right. It's about not betraying yourself when you get it wrong. The day you can smile at your imperfections without shame, that's the day you start living beautifully, no perfection required. Key 8. Reconcile with your body. Return home. Your body isn't just physical matter. It's the sacred home where your soul lives. Yet so many women spend their entire lives as strangers in their own bodies. We look at ourselves through other people's eyes, measuring ourselves against impossible standards, criticizing every stretch mark, every curve, every sign of aging. In that war with ourselves, we disconnect from our own being. From early on, we learn that bodies must be beautiful, thin, young to be loved and accepted. We learn to control our bodies like they're problems to be fixed, not companions to be heard. Every time you force yourself to skip meals when hungry, work when exhausted, smile when in pain, you're sending your body a message. Your needs don't matter. Gradually, you lose the ability to feel. You don't know when you need rest, when you need affection, when you're truly hurting. Jung said, "The body is the visible manifestation of the unconscious. Every ache, every tightness, every sensation is your soul trying to communicate." Reconciling with your body isn't about instantly loving it. It's about starting to listen to it. Ask, what do you need? Where are you tired? Where have I been ignoring you? When you listen to your body with gentleness, it begins to open up. You start eating not out of fear, but out of love. You rest not because you've collapsed, but because you honor yourself. You move, dance, breathe deeply, not to meet standards, but to feel alive. Reconciling with your body is a profoundly feminine act, a deep reunion where soul and flesh come back together. You stop seeing your body as an object needing repair. You see it as a loyal companion that's carried every wound you've ever endured. When you love your body as it is, you're sending a message to the universe. I am enough. I am present. I am worthy in this exact form. And from that moment, you stop living to be seen, you live to truly feel. That reconciliation is the beginning of peace, confidence, and the deepest respect, not from anyone else, but from yourself. So we've just walked through the first 8 keys together, from recognizing the emptiness to reconciling with your body. And if you've made it this far, I hope you're starting to feel something shift inside. You're not broken. You're not too much or too little. You're simply finding your way back home. These first 8 keys are about the foundation, the inner work that has to happen before anything else can truly change. It's about stopping the patterns that drain you, listening to the voice you've been silencing, and making peace with the body that's been carrying you through everything. But here's the thing, this is only the beginning. We've laid the groundwork, we've started the excavation, but there are 7 more keys waiting for you, and honestly, these next ones might be the most transformative of all. In part 2, we're going deeper. We're going to explore how to trust your intuition when the whole world is telling you you're wrong, how to embrace your shadow, the parts of yourself you've been taught to hate, how to choose relationships that actually nourish your soul instead of draining it, and finally, how to live from true wisdom, where you stop seeking approval and start living from your deepest truth. If part 1 was about recognizing and releasing, part 2 is about reclaiming and becoming. So here's what I want you to do before part 2. Take a moment right now. Close your eyes if you need to. Place your hand on your heart and ask yourself, which of these 8 keys did I need to hear most? Maybe it's setting boundaries. Maybe it's releasing perfectionism. Maybe it's reconciling with your body. Whatever it is, write it down. Put it somewhere you'll see it every day. Because transformation doesn't happen by watching videos. It happens by taking one small action at a time. If this resonated with you, hit that like button so I know this message is reaching the people who need it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe now and turn on notifications, because part 2 is dropping soon, and you don't want to miss it. Drop a comment below and let me know, which key hit you the hardest? What are you committing to change today? Your story might be exactly what another woman needs to hear. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being brave enough to start this journey. You're not alone, and the fact that you're still watching, that tells me you're ready. Part 2 is waiting for you, and trust me, if you thought part 1 was powerful, you haven't seen anything yet. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep choosing yourself. Take care. Welcome back. If you're here, it means you've already taken the first step. You've walked through the first 8 keys. You've started recognizing the emptiness, restoring your inner compass, setting boundaries, and reconciling with your body. And I'm so proud of you for that. But I also know why you're back. Because deep down, you sense that there's more. More truth to uncover. More power to reclaim. More freedom waiting on the other side of this journey. And you're absolutely right. In part 1, we laid the foundation. We did the groundwork of stopping the patterns that were draining you and reconnecting with yourself. But foundation work is just that, the beginning. Now it's time to build. In this video, we're going to explore the final 7 keys, and these are the ones that will take you from simply surviving to truly thriving. From recognizing your worth to embodying it in every choice you make. We're going to talk about trusting your intuition, that quiet voice that's been trying to guide you all along. Embracing your shadow, the parts of yourself you've been taught to hide. Choosing healthy relationships, not settling for connections that diminish you. Becoming your own authority so you never have to ask permission to be yourself again. Healing the feminine legacy, breaking the cycles that have been passed down for generations. Turning solitude into sanctuary, discovering that being alone doesn't mean being lonely. And finally, living from wisdom where you stop performing and start simply being. These aren't just concepts. These are life-changing keys that will unlock parts of yourself you forgot existed. If part 1 was about awareness, part 2 is about action. If part 1 was about recognizing the cage, part 2 is about walking out of it and never looking back. So take a deep breath. Get comfortable. Maybe grab a journal, because this is the kind of content that's going to stir something deep. If you're new here and haven't watched part 1 yet, I highly recommend going back and watching it first. The link is in the description. These keys build on each other, and you'll get so much more out of this if you start from the beginning. But if you're ready, if you've done the inner work and you're prepared to go deeper, then let's do this. Welcome to part 2. Welcome to your becoming. Let's dive in. Key 9. Trust your intuition, the soul's silent voice. Intuition is a gift every woman is born with. It's not mystical magic. It's the soul's natural language, the deepest way your body and spirit communicate with you. Intuition doesn't speak in logic or evidence. It speaks in feeling, a heartbeat that slows, a breath that catches, a vague sense you just know, even if you can't explain why. But we've been trained from early on to be rational, to think logically, to do what's appropriate by external standards. The result? Our intuitive voice gets silenced under the noise of duty, logic, and fear. How many times have you felt something was off? In a relationship, a decision, a path, but ignored it to avoid disappointing someone. And then time proved you were right all along. Jung said, "What you don't make conscious becomes your fate." When you don't listen to intuition, life has to speak louder, through shocks, pain, and loss, as a way of bringing you back to yourself. On the flip side, when you start trusting your intuition, everything becomes clearer, lighter. Not because you have all the answers, but because you dare to trust your inner knowing. Intuition doesn't shout or argue. It whispers. So to hear it, you need space, stillness, and the courage to accept what it says, even when that means change. Sometimes intuition will tell you to leave the familiar, end a relationship, quit the stable job everyone says you're lucky to have. It invites you into the unknown, the land of freedom. Trusting intuition doesn't mean rejecting logic. It means combining both. Let logic plan, but let intuition lead the way. When you start living by your soul's rhythm, things begin to synchronize. The people you need to meet appear. Opportunities open up. Life becomes more meaningful. Because ultimately, intuition is the voice of the part of you that knows best what's right for you, even when the world doesn't understand yet. Trusting it is trusting yourself. And that's the beginning of true freedom. Key 10. Embrace the shadow. Turn pain into power. Inside every woman is a place she rarely dares to look. The shadow. Anger, jealousy, hurt, regret, weakness, repressed desires. From childhood, we're taught to be sweet, gentle, never angry, always strong. So the parts of us that don't fit get shoved into the basement of our souls, where we hope they'll stay hidden forever. But the shadow doesn't disappear. It just waits to be heard. Jung called it the shadow, the unconscious containing everything we reject about ourselves. He said, one doesn't become enlightened by imagining light, but by making the darkness conscious. When you dare to look at your pain without judgment or denial, you begin real healing. The shadow isn't the enemy, it's the doorway to your power. When you allow yourself to be angry, sad, scared, jealous, and admit, this is also me, the suppressed energy gets released. Anger can become clarity. Fear can transform into courage. Sadness can evolve into compassion. All those rejected parts are just waiting for you to embrace them and say, I see you. The journey of embracing the shadow isn't easy. It requires brutal honesty filled with love, because looking at the parts you once hated can be terrifying. But remember, you can't fully love yourself if you're still hating pieces of yourself. You can't be truly free if you're still afraid of your own natural emotions. When you dare to step into your inner darkness, light begins to generate itself. Not fake, bright light, but the light of understanding and self-acceptance. You stop pretending you're fine. You stop having to be strong all the time. Instead, you become soft yet solid because you've seen all of yourself and still chose to stay. Embracing the shadow is the bravest act because it demands you face what you fear most without turning away. But when you do, pain transforms into wisdom, wounds become windows, and you emerge stronger, wiser, and more compassionate than ever before. Key 11. Choose healthy relationships. Love without sacrifice. After you've started coming back to yourself, listening to intuition, setting boundaries, releasing perfectionism, accepting your shadow, there comes a profound turning point. Looking at the relationships around you. Because no one can live fully in an environment that makes them shrink. Safety and respect cannot bloom in the barren soil of control, judgment, or dependency. In a woman's journey of growth, there's a sacred moment when she realizes, real love doesn't wound, doesn't drain, doesn't require sacrificing your essence to be accepted. Love isn't about becoming someone's other half. It's about two whole souls walking together, honoring each other's freedom and light. From childhood, many women are taught that their value lies in their ability to keep others. Keep a man, keep a family, keep a perfect image. But true love doesn't need to be kept. It needs to be lived. Genuinely healthy relationships aren't bound by fear. They're connected through honest presence and mutual respect. Jung said, the meeting of two personalities is like contact between two chemicals. If there's a reaction, both are transformed. A healthy relationship is exactly that. Both people grow, heal, and help each other return to their centers. No one has to disappear for the other to shine. To choose relationships like this, you first have to dare to leave relationships that no longer nourish you. Dare to say enough to connections based on control. Dare to release people who only love you when you're compliant. There will be loss. There will be tears. But what you reclaim is space for real love to enter. Healthy love doesn't demand perfection. It allows you to be weak, wrong, crying, laughing, and still loved. It doesn't promise eternal happiness, but it gives you the feeling of peace when you're simply yourself. Remember, You didn't come to this world to endure love. You came to live in it, freely, honestly, and wholly. When you choose yourself, you're also choosing relationships worthy of your soul. Key 12. Become your own authority. You are the only one in charge. One of the deepest steps of maturity for a woman is stopping the search for permission from outside. From childhood, we learn to look outward for validation. Grades tell us we're smart. Compliments tell us we're good. Others' eyes tell us we're beautiful. Someone's love tells us we're worthy. And so we grow up in an invisible approval system. Only when recognized do we dare to trust ourselves. But Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." Awakening is the moment you realize no one has the right to define your life except you. When you start consulting your own opinion before asking others, a powerful shift occurs. You step from the role of being led to being the leader. Internal authority isn't about being rigid or arrogant. It's the quiet state of someone who knows how to listen to themselves, who can distinguish between the true voice and the echo of fear. It's the ability to stand firm amid 100 opinions without losing your inner clarity. It's knowing when to move forward, when to stop, when to be silent, without needing anyone's permission. When you start living like this, some people will be surprised, even uncomfortable. They're used to the version of you that was compliant, always asking for input, always trying to please. But you don't need to rebel to prove anything. Just stay consistent in your truth. A woman with internal authority doesn't need to speak loudly. Her energy speaks for itself. From the moment you give yourself back the crown, you become autonomous. No longer dependent on praise or approval, you start living from honesty instead of seeking acceptance. Every decision you make, no matter how small, becomes a declaration. I am responsible for my life, and that's the true definition of mature feminine power. Not controlling others, but mastering yourself. When you become the authority in your inner world, you don't need to prove anything. You just need to be present, and the world naturally listens. Key 13. Heal the feminine legacy. Free yourself from invisible burdens. Every woman carries within her the imprint of the women who came before. Mothers, grandmothers, aunts, ancestors who lived, loved, endured, and stayed silent. In the invisible current of family history, there are fears, beliefs, and patterns passed down not through words, but through energy, through glances, habits, and the way they faced life. Many times we think we're living our own story, but we're actually replaying the unhealed scripts of previous generations. Jung called this the collective unconscious, a deep layer of the psyche where ancestral memories and emotions continue to live within us. That's why the fear of abandonment, the guilt around happiness, the familiarity with sacrifice may not have started with you. They're emotional inheritances you received without knowing. Healing the feminine legacy doesn't mean denying or judging those who came before. On the contrary, it's an act of gratitude and courage. It's looking straight at the wounds they couldn't heal and whispering, "Thank you for going first. From here, I'll do it differently." When you dare to live freely, dare to set boundaries, dare to choose happiness, you're not just liberating yourself. You're liberating the entire lineage that stayed silent for too long. You can start by writing a letter to your mother, to your grandmother, whether they're alive or have passed. Write out what you feel, what you've understood, and what you're choosing to release. Every word written is a thread being untangled, a step bringing both you and them closer to peace. Remember, honoring doesn't mean repeating. You can respect your roots while still choosing a different path. You can love them deeply without living their lives. When you dare to step out of the old loops, blind sacrifice, fear of happiness, prolonged silence, you're creating a new legacy. A legacy of freedom, of awareness, of conscious love. And that's the greatest gift you can give to those who come after, so they can begin not from wounds, but from the wholeness you bravely restored. Key 14. Turn solitude into sanctuary. Being alone is a gift, not a curse. In a noisy world where people are always busy connecting, sharing, proving they're okay, solitude gets labeled as failure. Women who live alone are often looked at with pity, as if happiness can only exist when you belong to someone. But the truth is completely opposite. Solitude isn't an emptiness that needs filling. It's a sacred space where you meet yourself again. Jung said, "One who cannot bear to be alone will never know what freedom is." Indeed, only in silence, when there are no other voices controlling you, can you hear your soul's unique rhythm. In solitude, you begin to realize you're not lacking, you've just been scattered. Solitude becomes the door leading you back to your center, where you no longer need to play roles, don't have to appear strong, don't need to be loved to feel valuable. At first, solitude can be frightening. You might feel empty, lost, even panicked. But if you stay with it long enough, that emptiness begins to transform into space for creativity, for peace. There, you can read a book just for joy, watch the sunset without posting it, cry without feeling weak, laugh without needing witnesses. Turning solitude into sanctuary isn't about withdrawing from the world. It's learning to be fully present with yourself. When you can sit in silence without feeling empty, you've found an eternal source of strength. Because someone who befriends themselves will never again be dependent on others' recognition. Solitude is the laboratory of the soul, where your scattered fragments get reassembled into wholeness. It's where you rest after years of running from yourself. When you dare to be alone without fear, the world can no longer threaten you with silence. Because when you find peace in solitude, you carry your home with you wherever you go. And there, in that quiet stillness, you realize the deepest truth. You were never truly alone. Your soul was always there, waiting for you to come home. Key 15. Live from wisdom, seek truth within, not approval without. After all the stages of the journey, listening, healing, releasing, returning, a woman finally realizes something simple yet profound. True freedom doesn't come from being loved or understood. It comes from living honestly with yourself. This is the stage of wisdom. When you no longer need applause, don't need to prove anything, don't need anyone's permission. You just need to live truthfully. Living from wisdom doesn't mean becoming cold or disconnected from emotions. On the contrary, it's the union of heart and awareness, intuition and reason. You understand that every choice has its price, and you're willing to pay it if it keeps you honest. No longer chasing perfection or expectations, you choose truth, even when it's simple, raw, sometimes lonely. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." When you start living from wisdom, you stop searching for a savior. You stop blaming the past, stop accusing others for your pain. You understand that every experience, good or bad, is a teacher for the soul. And instead of resisting, you learn to be grateful for them, because every wound taught you an important chapter about yourself. Living from wisdom is also the art of knowing when to let go. You don't cling to relationships, roles, or old dreams just to feel safe. You understand that everything has a cycle: arrive, stay, leave. And you let things flow with grace, like someone who understands the river's law. When you stop living for recognition, your energy shifts. You walk lighter, speak less, but every word, every action carries weight. You don't need to assert power because your calm is the proof. You don't need to prove love because your presence is love. Living from wisdom means living from clarity, not fear. It's waking up each morning and asking, "What is true for me today?" Then acting on it whether anyone understands or not. Because ultimately, The wisest woman isn't the one who knows the most. She's the one who knows how to listen to the truth living in her heart and dares to live fully for it. If you've walked with me to this moment, maybe somewhere in your heart, a part of you has awakened. The part that's always known you deserve love, peace, and a full life, without needing anyone's permission. Remember, becoming a peaceful woman doesn't mean becoming cold or closed off. It's the process of learning to be with yourself, to listen, to respect, and to love yourself the way you've always longed to be loved. Every no you dare to say, every boundary you dare to set, every time you choose truth over approval, these are steps coming home. This isn't just about personal transformation. It's about changing the world. Because every time a woman chooses to stop abandoning herself, she creates a ripple effect. She becomes a lighthouse for other women searching for their way back. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be willing to begin. Start with one small thing today. Pause before saying yes and ask yourself, do I really want this? Set one boundary without apologizing. Spend 10 minutes in silence, just being with yourself. Write down one truth you've been afraid to admit. Every small act of self-honoring is revolutionary. Jung believed that the greatest journey we can take is the journey inward, to meet ourselves without masks, without apologies, without fear. And when you complete that journey, you don't just find peace. You become it. If this message resonated with you, I'd love to hear your story. Drop a comment below and share. Which of the 15 keys spoke to you most? What's one thing you're committing to change today? What part of your journey feels hardest right now? Your story might be the light someone else needs to find their way home. And if you know a woman who needs to hear this, your sister, your friend, your mother, your daughter, please share this video with her. Sometimes we need someone to remind us that we're not alone in this struggle, that awakening is possible, and we're worthy of it. Don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video in this series, because this journey doesn't end here. In the next episode, we'll dive deeper into the shadow work, how to transform your deepest wounds into your greatest power. We're going to explore the parts of yourself you've been afraid to look at and discover how embracing them is the key to true freedom. Before you go, I want to leave you with one final thought from Carl Jung. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. You are not your past. You're not your mistakes. You're not the roles you've played or the pain you've carried. You are the choices you make from this moment forward. And if you choose yourself, even just once, even in the smallest way, you've already begun. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having the courage to listen, to reflect, to consider that maybe, just maybe, it's time to come home to yourself. Until next time, remember, you are worthy, you are enough, and you don't need anyone's permission to live fully and freely. Take care of yourself, not because you have to, but because you deserve it. I'll see you in the next one. Keep choosing you.